God, I just thank you for allowing this time that I have to put forth your word. Your word was put upon my heart to give forth to your beloved, Lord, and I pray that it can be used to help build this up, help maybe use it to help others, or many times. I was fortunate enough to have time to prepare some of these messages, and I can tell you, the pastor has to do this and keep it fresh every Sunday, and it gets to be tough, and you have to definitely be in tune with God, and you hear things during the week, which is very good. We're going to start out, the trial of your faith is the name of the message, and we're going to start in 1 Peter chapter 1. Boy, pastor can attest to the trial of his faith, that's for sure. He's been doing nothing but talking to us about it. And actually, when I prepared this, I started working on this before the pastor actually knew he was even going to go in. So this is just how I'll be picking away at it. We'll see how it goes. So in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 6, it says, "Wherein you greatly rejoice through now for a season, if need be, or in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perishes, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ." So testings are temptations, trials. Testings are, it's in Greek, it's an experiment, a trial, of temptation I just mentioned. It's more precious to God because He's going to see what you're made of. It's invaluable, and it's going to be tried with fire. It has to melt away all the bad stuff around us. You know what? Court's in session right now. Court's in session. Go to Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1. It makes sense to John anyway. John knows what's going on. It's inside Job. It'll keep your attention today. Okay, in the first chapter of Job, I'm not going to read it. It's very lengthy. A lot of you know it, and but we're just going to touch into it. And so the first case is Job from the land of Uz against Satan, the lake of fire. His address is already there. Remember that when he's giving you a hard time. He said, just tell him where he's already going. You'll chase him away. But anyway, in Job, there's a man from the land of Uz. His name was Job, and the man was perfect and upright, and that feared God, and escheweth evil, which I meant to look that word up before it came to my mind, but I'm pretty sure he shuns it, he keeps it out, he tries to avoid it at all costs. I'm sure that's close enough. So, and he has much substance. He's had 7 sons and daughters, and he was a well-to-do man of his age, and you can read it later. Now, we go to 6, verse 6. Now, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came, and the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro from the earth, and from walking up and down it. And what does he do? He goes around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Right. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and shuns evil? We'll use that word today. And Satan answered the Lord, Does God fear him for naught? Because thou made a hedge about him and his house and all as he had, and blessed his work at his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. So remember, folks, where does all your blessings come from? From God. Right. Mm-hmm. But put forth your hand now and touch all that he had, and he will curse thee in the face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all he has in thy power, except, so he lets him have Adam, and you can read it, he takes away everything he has in a day. And so then in verse 20, Then Job rose, rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down on the ground and says, "Why is this happening to me?" Is that what he said there? No, he said he worshiped God. He worshiped and got closer. And he said, "And naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. And the Lord gave, and the Lord had taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly." So, and now in chapter 2, there came another day, and I laugh. People like say, you read that Satan's cunning. Yeah, he's cunning, he gets in my ear, but he never... But I read this, and he must be foolish, because he's already saw what happened, but he comes to the Lord again, and the same thing happens. You know what's going to happen. Hey, have you considered my, where you been, Satan? Well, have you considered my servant Job? Again, and he's like, well, he's a perfect enough, he's like, all he had, skin for skin. If you touch his body now, what happened to the pastor? He touched his body, you know what I mean? Right. The pastor's being definitely tested, that's for sure, and so are we. Yeah. I'm here to, again, I said this before, there's 16 things going on right now. He's getting closer, we're getting closer, you're getting closer. How's your prayer life? On and on we could go, and things we don't even realize that are coming down the road yet. And so saying, God touches them. I mean, God takes his hedge away, of course. So that when that happens, God's doing something in your life. It's not just because Satan wants to have at you. Because God's got to take down his hand first. So I smote Job again, and when believe me, I've had one boil. I'm sure you've heard this. I can't even imagine being head to toe. I used to get boils when I was young. Once in a while, he couldn't even sit down. I can't imagine head to toe. He couldn't even sleep for days, probably. And then his wife said to him, "Dost thou still retain your integrity? Curse God and die." But he said to her, "Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What, shall we not receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? In all this Job sinned not with his lips." So, and a lot of people are hard on his wife. Just lost all her children and stuff, and she didn't understand. And look at his own friends came and said, "There's got to be something you're doing in your life." And I'm so thankful that God gives us the book of Job, because you can definitely know that things happen for a reason, and we will address that shortly. Yeah. Turn to James chapter 1. James. James chapter 1, 12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, testings, for when he is tried, he shall receive a crown of life, which the Lord has promised to them that love him. So, and then back to Job 5:17, you don't have to turn there. He says, "Behold, happy is the man that God corrected and chafed it." Actually, it wasn't Job that said that. It was one of his friends said that to him. He's right in what he said, but he was, again, thinking that Job was being chastised because he had sin in his life, and that's not what was going on. But he was righteous in what he was saying. He was saying, "Behold, happy," in Job 5:17, if you want to turn there, I just paraphrase it. "Behold, happy is the man that God corrected and chastises," in so many words, and you read that in Hebrew a lot. So Job had everything taken away in a day, and he kept his integrity. And like I said, God gives us the book of Job, so you're going to say, listen, you're going to go through testing, and we're going to see what happens. And maybe it's to show Satan a thing or two, or who knows. And his buddies learned a lot that day. The good thing Job was righteous enough to pray for him and didn't hold any animosity towards him, or those guys would have been in trouble. Because they only accepted forgiveness. If Job forgave them, then God would forgive them. That's very amazing. So, so Romans 8:28 says, "All things work together for the good to them that love God, to them that are called for his purpose." So everything happens for a reason. It's not just chance, it's not just luck. We always say, good luck. Well, you should never say that. It's all blessings. It's, or cursings, it could be. Job 23:10 says, but he knoweth the way that I take. When he had tried me, I shall come forth as gold. He tried, he went through a trial. Case dismissed on Job, right?
Yeah.
Passed the test. Let's see what David says about trials, a man after God's own heart. I wind up, every time I do a message, I wind up coming back to David because he really got it. He really did. And the more I read about it, you know, Pastor, before he got taken away from us, was in Psalms, and I was eating that up on Sunday nights, right? I forget, I remember when you were doing it, Sunday nights, right? Yeah, and boy, you really can see, and there's a lot of times you may read things about David, you know, and just say, yeah, okay, but he wrote these things when he was going through some trials, when Saul was trying to kill him, and all kinds of, you know, people were after him, of course, Satan, and he still remained his integrity. Let's see, so I have Psalm 66:10. I have a little more here, so I don't know why I added to it, so hang on, I had some. 10, for thou, O God, hast proved us. Thou hast tried us as silver is tried. 11, thou broughtest us into the net. Thou laid affliction upon our loins. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through the fire and through the water, but thou broughtest us into a wealthy place. And he's even speaking about Israel. He brought them through the... Who would you cross when the waves are on either side? I guess you'd have a choice when you got Egypt behind you, but you know, God's going to prove us.
Yes.
To see if you're his own. You know, you speak about proving things, so I was in my devotions a while back when I was putting this together, 1 Samuel 17. So basically, if you want to go into that later, it's about David when he comes forth and his brothers thought he was mocking him. They're like, hey, what's up? Why are you guys not fighting this Goliath over here? And he, you know, and he's like, well, what's going to happen to the guy that kills him? And they bring him, he's like, oh, you can't go up against this guy. He's like, oh, I can. I killed a lion and a bear. And so Saul tries to give him his sword and his armor, and God's like, I can't use that because I haven't proved it. You know, God's going to prove us. And we also need to be proved our weapons. So David said, I haven't proved him, and he goes out with a weapon that he was using since he was a kid, and he was able to kill the enemy, kill the giant in our lives with what he was proved with. Turn to Ephesians chapter 6. We're going to be getting there someday when we're on Friday nights, I think, eventually. We took a little turn off of that, but if you're feeling up to it, come see us on Friday nights. We're in the book of Galatians sometimes. Sometimes we get a little sidetracked. That's a good thing, though. Better than what we used to do. Galatians 6. I'm sorry, Ephesians. I don't know where. Wow, I had Galatians on the brain. Maybe I was supposed to go there. 6. Well, you probably knew where I was going anyway. You put on the whole armor of God. 11. Then you'd be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers and darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take ye on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand there having your loins girt. That's what he says that to Job, about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherein ye shall be able to quench the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. So do you bring your sword with you every day, or do you leave it on the shelf in the scabbard? Or are you using it every day because you may need it? You may get this taken away, and at least you can paraphrase and you can win somebody to the Lord. Or you could be out in the world. I had my motorcycle that I got to get a Bible on my motorcycle. I actually was witnessing for an hour to the Jehovah's that were in the park, you know, and doing what we should be doing. But their motive is good, but they have I gave them a lot of homework. I never thought I would chase away the Jehovah's. We gotta go. But that's what the Word will do if you pull it out of the scabbard. You got to remember, there's going to be times when they may take this away and burn it on you.
Yeah.
Know it. Get it out, test it. I got Hebrews 5. Hebrews 5:12. For when the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness. But for he's a babe, but strong meat belonging to them that are full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. So you're unskillful with your sword if you're just coming here and hearing the basics. You're not going to be able to chase away the wicked ones, or even identify if somebody's preaching false doctrine and maybe bringing other people to hell. And your senses exercised, you're battle tested. You've been out there and you've been tested by the word. You've exercised the word with the sword. What's the word of the sword? Psalm 17:3. I wrote it down. You don't have to turn it if you don't want. This is a prayer of David. Thou hast proved my heart by testing, I wrote. Thou hast visited me in the night. Thou hast tried me and shall find nothing. I have purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. Psalm 26 I got here. Psalm 26. 1 and 2. Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. See, he's walked as an integrity. And so did Job. I have trusted also in the Lord, therefore I shall not backslide. Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart. What does that mean by reins? You know, think about that. I just watched the Kentucky Derby, and one of the guys got disqualified because he didn't quite rein in his horse on the corner. It was a muddy track, but that was quite a thing. He got disqualified. Hopefully, we don't get disqualified when God tests our reins. So what happens? You're on a horse, and God pulls to the right, or the jockey pulls to the right, and the horse goes to the right or to the left. Or pulls back and says, whoa, stop. You need to stop right now, God. You got to be in tune with that.
Yes.
So, and during a battle, or that's what happened. This horse was a rookie horse, or what did they call him? Like, there's an actual name for it. And the crowd kind of got him out of whack because he wasn't used to it. He wasn't battle tested. And the crowd got his focus. The world got his focus off of the true test during the war.
Mm-hmm.
The race, that was right, exactly. So, so when the war is on, are we going to become a bucking bronco and run, or are we going to be ready, battle tested? That's why I think when these doors are open, folks, you need to be here every day and listen to the word when you can, or every time you can, be in tune with what God's going to tell you. Turn to Revelation chapter 2. Revelation chapter 2. This was the church of Thyatira, but God often has a way of speaking to them and things coming down the road, and several things a lot of times. But 22. Now 21, and I gave her space to repent of her fornication, and she repented not. Behold, I will cast her into bed with them that commit adultery with the world, with her into great tribulation, except they repent of their deeds. And, hang on. And I will kill the children with death, and all the churches shall know that I am he which searches the reins, that's it, and the hearts, and I will give unto every one of you according to his works. So God's going to test you. He's definitely going to test you if you're his. Key word. It's funny, somebody mentioned it this morning, Jeremiah 17. Jeremiah 17. I don't remember if it was either Paul or Pastor, I can't remember. You missed this morning, I think God was speaking this morning, I definitely was speaking. Jeremiah 17, you guys are already there. I'm slow here, I'd be bad at those things where you try to find a verse real fast. I was never good at that. That's why I got to get it up here. 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So you think you know your heart. You think. So I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. So he's going to definitely try you like a horse, definitely. Next case. Your faith is on trial. John's laughing because he used to be in court. He knows what this is all about. 1 Peter chapter 4. Now your faith is on trial. Let's see how it looks here through God's word. 1 Peter chapter 4. No sleeping today, folks, right? Keep you awake, I'll pull this up. 1 Peter 4. 1 Peter 4:12. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye shall be glad also with exceeding joy. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye, for the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on his behalf. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God, and it is first begin with us. What shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of God? So maybe we're getting tested, they're not right now, and so what's going to happen to them? So don't be mad at God when you're getting tested. Rejoice. Let's see. So Isaiah 48:10 says, Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. The furnace of affliction is the fiery trial Peter mentions. The last book of the Old Testament, I thought it was Malachi, but it's Malachi. I used to say it. I didn't know until I heard it. That's what it looks like, Malachi. Now I'm going to say that. I can't think. Malachi. The last book, now it says in 3:3, it says, and he's speaking about Jesus. I don't know if he knew he was speaking about Jesus. I have a sneaky suspicion. And he shall sit, Jesus shall sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver. And they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. So we touched on, when you're born again, you become of the seed of Abraham. So you are a son of Levi. And if you admit, I preached on obedience. So, it's amazing because when you're taking science, we'll say, you need to first learn algebra, then to do algebra you need to have geometry, and then you need trigonometry, you need all those things, so you need each thing, so obedience is part of the trial of your faith. And I think somebody touched on all those things and so I mentioned 1 Peter 2, 5, and 9 saying we are a royal priesthood. Well, we folks, we're left here to be a priesthood to the world, to bring the gospel to everyone and believe me, if Jesus tarries and we go through the tribulation period, we're going to be the only light to the world.
Yes.
And again, I alluded to it, if we didn't have this Bible, how would you be able to lead someone to Christ? I hope so. And so that's what they're talking about. We're left here, and he's purging the sons of Levi, and he's trying them as gold and silver. So we're definitely, it's been spoken of in the past, and it's spoken of now. Turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. 12. Now if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. If any man's work abide, where he has built upon, he shall receive a reward. If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire. Yeah, he's saved, but by the skin of his teeth, and he has nothing to bring and show forth and bring back. So that's what God's going to do. When you're here working for the church or out in the world for him, he's going to bring some things your way to see if you're real. Acts chapter 5. Hang on, I'm getting there. Acts of the Apostles, what an example we have left by them. Thank you, Lord. 5, Acts chapter 5. Well, in 28 it starts, the high priest is saying, did we not command you that you should not teach in his name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men, which I kind of touched on that Wednesday. So that's where the fear of man comes when the tribulation comes. Are you going to fear man? Or when any tribulation comes in your life, or even when you're in work? So then now in the 40, it says, say Acts 5:40, and to him they agreed, and when they called the apostles and beat them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Jesus, and let them go. And they departed from the presence of the council, moaning and groaning that they were whipped and beaten, that they had, No, they rejoiced, and they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. And daily in the temple and in every house they ceased not to teach and preach Jesus Christ. They didn't fear man at all, Definitely they were new, and they were rejoicing. Do you rejoice when they call you a goody two-shoes, or they, what kind of persecution do we go through now, folks? So redeem it,
Yeah.
I love it when guys give me a hard time and they make fun of me with the Bible. I'm like, thanks. I feel like I finally did something that was worth a salt when I need to be persecuted a little bit. I hope it happens to you. Is God putting you on trial? Is he persecuting you? I hope so, because turn to 2 Timothy.
Yeah.
Not that, Brother Mike, that's tough. You're asking me to go through persecution, which is actually to pursue after or to hunt like an animal. 2 Timothy, whoops, I'm too far here. I'm sure a lot of you know where I'm going, because your sword has been exercised and it's battle tested. I hope so. 2 Timothy, whoop, I'm in first. 2 Timothy 2:3. I'm sorry, 2 Timothy chapter 3. Well, yea, and all that will live godly in Christ might suffer persecution.
No.
No, you're definitely, you shall suffer persecution. Now, it may mean, physical persecution, like our pastor. It could mean mental persecution. It could mean your worldly persecution. You may not get a job promotion because of your beliefs. I've seen that happen where I work. Certain guys, the guys that are in with the in crowd, the worldly crowd, but that's okay. We win in the end.
Yeah.
Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. So David said, try me. Does anyone think about how much kind of courage that says? God, try me, tug on my reins, prove me, Lord. It's kind of scary, but you know what? That's what you need to be. That's our mindset, And you might say, some may say, God, you're trying my reins. You're tugging pretty hard on my reins, Lord. But 1 Corinthians, well, you know what? You can't, I just can't take this. I can't do it all. You're right, you can't. Jesus can help you if you yoke up with him. Believe me, I've been convicted when I made this message, folks. Believe me, this message is for me as well as everyone here, and I hope you can use it. And just remember, 1 Corinthians 10:13 says God will never allow you to be tempted or tested more than you are able, and he will make a way of escape. And his name is Jesus Christ. He's going to help you through that. So what a loving God we have, that he makes us one of our own, but he's going to try. Who here would buy a car and not try it out? Would anyone here buy a car and not try it out? I've seen a guy do that, but he sells cars and he can get away with it. But on the whole, even a brand new car, aren't you going to try it out? See if you. That's what God's doing with us, folks. He's going to try you. Now, all heads bowed and all eyes closed. If you're truly not